So here's some of the materials that you need for this. First of all, what I found is a turkey roaster. Electric turkey roaster works awesome. You'll see that I am outside today. Beautiful October day in the panhandle of North Idaho. So basic things that you need. First of all, a turkey roaster with a lid on it. And you see that I have got some water in the bottom. When you get a turkey roaster, they'll come with like a pan to actually put the turkey in. You don't want to use that because what that does is just insulates the heat, and we want to get it hot. So I set this thing to about as high as it'll go because I'm not the most patient person in the world, and I want to get it hot and melted. And it takes a while to melt wax. So let's talk about containers. I don't know what this was, but you see I've got some blue wax in there today. And what I like to do, what I found is if it's a Pyrex or if it's a glass kind of container, it works better for melting wax. And if you have a handle on it, it's easier to grab. Okay, so when I'm grabbing these things, I've always made sure that I've got my my mitt on, my little quilted pot holder mitt. And you can also see over here, this is like just plywood to bust up that wax some. So I am the queen of repurposing and recycling. Okay, so a couple of the other things that you're going to need is I got these tongs. They work great for this. It keeps the heat away from your hand. So a pair of long tongs and something to bust that wax up with. And then, of course, we want, you see I've got a cookie sheet there that has a piece of parchment paper on it. When I start dipping the pine cones, I'll put them on there. And then, of course, you got to have some pine cones. And you also got to wrap them with some wicking. Now, it doesn't have to be candle wicking. It just needs to be something. This is actually cotton string that's used in the kitchen. But really, whatever kind of string that you had, you just wrap it around there. I put a knot in the bottom, and I wrap it around 2 or 3 times up to the top there. And it really needs to have that wicking on it. If you just light a pine cone without some wicking, they don't burn well. But if you got the wicking on it with a candle wax, it'll work awesome. So let's talk a little bit about candle wax. Like I said, I'm the queen of repurposing. I like to call it being a junkie, but somehow repurposing sounds better. So here's just a stash of white candles that I've gotten over the a couple years, going to thrift stores, finding candles, and then I have a stash of some red, blue, and green candles. So I'll just put them in a tote, and then when it comes time to use them, I'm all set. So here's that twine that I use. It's just cooking twine, and that works great. It's 100% natural cotton. But I just wrap it up, and we're going to do that here in a minute. So, I mean, if you are a thrift store enthusiast, right on. Look in the craft section. There's all sorts, especially this time of year for the holidays. There's all sorts of candles. People don't use them. They look cool. We put them to a greater purpose. Now, and the other cool thing I ran into is, I think these were some kind of a deal where you put them on a wax burner, but so they're these cool scents, and of course they have dye in them. So I can put that in the white candle once I've melted it, and then I get scent. All sorts of wild scents. So, keep an eye for that stuff. Some people use crayons. You can use that too. I mean, they're only to cover fire starters. So you don't have to get real technical with this. So let's look at my stash of pine cones. So these guys have all been, this tote has all been wrapped. What I do while I'm waiting for my dye pots to get done. So what I'll do is I'll just, when I'm waiting for something to happen, or a dye pot to get done or whatever, I'll wrap these, okay? And we're going to wrap one together. So these are Ponderosa pine cones, or bull pine is what they call them out here. They're really, really pretty pine cones. And you can see they're on the large side. So, and they got these cool little prickly things too. But anyway, so that's my stash of pine cones, and then I'm going to show you how to wrap one. So I'm going to take like, let's say 18 inches of the string. How's that? I just have a little pine cone. And what I'm going to do, it just works a little bit easier if you put just an overhand knot in the bottom of it. It makes it grab a little bit easier. So starting somewhere down here on the bottom, I'm just going to wrap around that. And usually the pine cone will tell you which way it's going to let you wrap. Okay. You know, and we always want the pretty ones, but really some of the old ones work just as good for this. So I'm just going to wrap this around. It saves you from picking them up and burning them later. So, and then what I like to do is I come up around here to the top. You need to go at least 2 or 3 times around it, preferably 3. But what I like to do is kind of leave a loop. Leave a loop and then, you know, go underneath that, make a loop around the top, just so you got something to dip it with. Now, using those prongs, I don't need that, but it still gives you a longer wick. And this is not a case of less is more in this case. I'd rather have a longer wick. Gives me a little bit more ability to roll it around the wax on. Now this is kind of a small one, but you get the idea. I got my dye pot going, and I've taken one of these packages of vanilla sugar scented wax cubes, and I threw them in my pot, my little glass pot here. You can see I used this yesterday, so it's got pretty wax coated. And then I just want to show you what I do to bust up some candles. So these guys had, I don't know what they had some kind of little goofy label on them. Take the labels off, and I'm just going to whack them. Okay? Start busting that up, because that's going to melt a lot faster. I'll take it, look out, I don't need it. Bust it up like that, and you'll find out there's good candles and not good candles by doing this. The ones that aren't that good are kind of flaky, they're not dipped, but for our purposes that works awesome. It just makes them melt faster. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting that in here. I'll bust that other one up. Put these little pieces in there. This makes it go faster. I'll do one more and show you how I do it. Basically I just start going around it, whacking it a little bit. Pretty soon it'll bust up. Bust up. There you go. Okay. And if it doesn't work, you've got a good candle, it's not all flaky like that on the inside, use the tongue part of the handle. That'll do it. Get your frustrations out. Okay, so I'm going to take that wick out because I really don't need that. Suppose you could use that for something, but I haven't figured it out yet. So this is pretty full. You don't want to put it all the way up to the top because as it melts, it's going to come up higher. So I'm going to go ahead and put this inside the pot too, and then we'll take a look at the pot, see it's starting to steam, see what's going on here. Move some things around a little bit. Remember that they are hot. The wind is coming up. There we go. In the water. Alright, so I'm going to check this once again. See, it's nice and steamy. And I do have enough in my one Pyrex glass, see that's melting too, to go ahead and do some pine cones before it starts raining. So I'm going to put this back on and show you how it's done. I got my melted wax here. And so what I'm going to do is put that on there only because things are flying around here. And so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put this in here. You have to prime them first. So the first time you do it, take off the excess. It really doesn't look like you've done much. But what that does is it sets them so that the next ones that you do, and I'll show you that next. I wish you guys could smell this. It'll coat it thicker. And the colder the temperature of the wax, the thicker it'll be as well. And because today is started off really nice, and it's getting cooler. Makes the wax cool quicker. Also, but sometimes that makes it better for priming it, because you can see on that one, that's more wax cover on it. So this is a blue one, and I put some kind of scent in it that was blue colored. I don't remember exactly what, but it's gorgeous. So I'm going to put these in real quick, and you can see why it really behooves you to have a lot of wax in your container. You also see that this is cooling down pretty quick because it's glomming out my tongs. Okay, so I'm going to get these done for the first layer, and then I'm going to come back and show you what the second layer looks like. And some of these I've already got done from yesterday. I primed them. See how that wax is cooling down? These might only need one. And that's because I'm doing them outside. If you had them in the house, you'd have to prime them and do it again. But I like to keep all this stuff outside. So, and about at this point, I really need to put some more melted wax in here. And you can see that this is kind of glommy. That's not the look I'm looking for. So, now let me show you what it looks like to put your second dip on. So here's your prime, and like I say, usually they wouldn't be this thick, but because it's getting colder, it's covering it more. See the first one that I did in comparison to the last one I did, and that's just the temperature of the wax cooling down. Okay? Better day, a little sunshine on this nice October day. So here are the ones that we did yesterday. These are the ones that are primed. And then today we are going to take them once again and dip them in some wax. Kind of want to stir that around there a little bit. A different container. And then I just want to kind of drip off the excess. Put that on there. Now the other thing I do is kind of a finishing touch. You could dip this again if you wanted. Like I say, depending on the temperature of the wax is how much layer you'll get on it. And then I just sprinkle some glitter on that while it's still hot. Kind of gives it a little snow effect. Okay. So I'm going to stick this one on there. Dunk her again. Glitter on that guy, and then once these are set, they are ready to go. It's a little thicker, you can tell. That's a nice one. Put a little glitter on it. Okay. Give you a little close-up of that. How pretty they are. And that is how you make your own fire starters. You got the wick on them. That's what you're going to light after these harden up. And then these cool evenings, I probably dip this one again. These work great for starting out fires. That's how you do it. Thanks.